I've been playing less of Minecraft recently to the point of concerning addiction. Here I was like, give me back my efficiency 5! So regardless of developing a bad habit, in this video, I came up with an idea where I'm gonna list all of the hostile mobs or enemies based on their sounds, which are considered from not that scary all the way to nightmare fuel. Let's go. Now, if you have never played Minecraft or seen the game but have somehow heard of it, this would be quite an experience for you. Despite their child-friendly appearance, some aspects of the game go way over the top. For instance, their sound effects. So I searched for all the game's enemies and shuffled them randomly to make it more interesting. So let's start with the first mob, the Ravager. These creatures appear during later waves and raids, and their size and uncanny appearance resembling pillagers and villagers. I think I speak for everyone that villagers and pillagers are mainly based on Squidward. There's really no denying that. Anyways, it only sounded like this guy with a mix of a bison, which kinda sound like so they go on an easy category. Next up, the Ghast. Okay, I'm pretty sure everyone can agree that this ghost-like creature is somewhat scary the first time you hear it because it sounds resembles a distorted noise of a cooing baby. I just found out during the editing process that they used the sound of a cat for this mob. Makes sense with all the purring noises. Well, either it's a baby or a cat. This goes on a chilling category. The Silverfish. They are just annoying little insects that mostly appear in the stronghold of Trial Chamber, and they don't really have intimidating qualities apart from being annoying. Not that scary. Blaze. Okay, these guys are quite threatening. They are one of the most important mobs to kill if you want to get to the last level. They are found in the Nether Fortress, and their sounds when they are nearby are pretty unsettling. Not to mention, powerful and grooves really matches of how they sound. Got me really stressed out in my early gameplay. Zombie Villager. To be honest, every time I see a zombie villager, all I can think of is feeling really bad for them, not being bothered by the sound even for a bit. If I'm in a different village, I won't hesitate and will just kill them on the spot, but if it's one of my villagers, I'd be like, oh dang it, I ran out of weakness potions. I have to get one stab because I really want those juicy discounts. Not that scary. Next up, the Warden. Okay, if I set up this list in order, this mob would be my best for last and will be placed at the very top, as the Warden is one of the reasons I made this video. I mean, try hearing this with your eyes closed. All of the repulsive sound effects are packed into this creature. I am surprised that Mojang approved this, especially considering that there are kids playing this. The predatory presence characterized by the spawning sounds resembles a literal demon. And it tracks you down by hearing the player's footsteps and their scent from the distance. Not to mention visual darkness where you can't see anything ahead, and the sound of its heartbeat trying to correlate with your own. Try fighting back and this thing could survive even the strongest hits and can apparently kill you in seconds even with a full set of maximized armor. Even try putting the effort to kill it, apparently more of them will come out from all the noises you would make. Like bro, this is no brainer, a pure nightmare fuel. Okay, next up, the Creeper. So this thing doesn't really have any terrifying noises other than indicating that there's a creeper right next to you. And the sound it makes is simply just a fuse being lit. Sure, it could jump scare you in the game, but I've heard that type of sound from launching fireworks in cartoons and movies, and that kind of sound is really not that scary. Getting jump scared and being genuinely scared are totally different things. Therefore, the sound is ranked at the very bottom. Shulkers. These guys make noises of being annoying. Every time I try to kill them for their shells, they'll just mock me with their noise of a as they teleport away somewhere else. So not that scary. Huskers. Huskers sounds scarier than regular zombies, likely because their breathy voices suggest a desperate thirst for moisture, hence the name Husk. So in terms of sounds, they're quite uneasy. Guardian, and also the Elder Guardian. They sound identical to each other, so what's funny about these mobs is that they sound scary when they're in the water, but as soon as they're on land, they are just flopping around like a Magikarp. I remember getting jump scared for the first time when this thing popped up on the screen, having the fear of the deep ocean with this. Yeah, nah. So we can all agree that they give literal chills. The Vex. These mobs are summoned by the evokers that tend to annoy the player, as if you were trying to kill a housefly with a fly swatter. Even the noise they make sounds like they're making fun of you for missing your attacks. They don't sound scary, they are infuriating. Slime and Magma Cube. In the game, these two are basically sound the same, with noise that goes in a splattering sound, kinda sound like this. I don't find the noise a bit threatening, so this goes at the bottom tier. The Skeleton. Now, despite these mobs being really powerful in higher difficulty, the rattling noise they make when they're nearby isn't that scary. It's like punching a bag full of stuff. Bottom tier. Piglin Brood. Despite them being an absolute unit for guarding the Bastion, these guys will absolutely lock onto a player with a sound that reminds me of my dad napping on the couch. Uneasy. Drowned. Not gonna lie, this reminds me of how someone gurgling their mouthwash, but since they thrive in deep waters and attack nearby players, plus my fear of bottomless water, I find their presence really gets me the chills just being around them. Ender Dragon. The final boss of the game is not only the biggest mob, but also the loudest. I've heard all the types of dragon noises from different media, and the Ender Dragon isn't that different, but it really gets you locked in during gameplay. I put this on easy. Enderman. This Tolbro isn't a threat unless provoked, like attacking them or making an eye contact. When it's in a hostile state, they give this distorted TV white noise. In fact, they are actually based on Slenderman, a viral indie horror game popular back in the day. When I faced these guys for the first time, I found them kind of adorable, especially because they have a block in their hand. Then as soon as you look at them in the eye, it suddenly turns into horror. It always gives me the jitters when they start to get real mean, so I kinda get stressed out just from the noise alone. The Witch, but their main threat is from throwing poison, but as for their sound, it's not that scary. They're similar to the generic witches often depicted in cartoons. So, bottom tier. Pillagers. I'm talking about Vindicators, Evokers, and those guys with crossbows. They all basically sound the same but with different cadence, just a crouchy version of a villager. Or Squidward, not that scary. Creaking. These mobs are somewhat similar to an Enderman, but their hostility mechanics are opposite to each other. If you look away from them, they will immediately chase and attack the player. As for the sound they make, which I bet took inspiration from a stick breaking as you walk around in the dark forest realizing no one's there, a bit of a horror element being added into the game like this, can completely appreciate. This goes in a chilling category. Endermite. I've never seen them in the game, so I just went ahead on YouTube and see what they're like. And to no surprise, seems like not many people are interested in them either. As for the sound, they're no different than a silverfish. So, not that scary. Zombie. Yes, the most iconic enemy in the game. I'll put them at the bottom tier because it's just generic zombie sound. I find the other variants a lot creepier though, but I can appreciate not being overly done with the sound effects, unlike the others. Wither Skeletons. These mobs make the same noises as regular skeleton, providing an immediate indication that leads you to think, I have to trust skull this time. I got killed fast when I first encountered them in the game, being a silent kill most of the time, but judging by the sound, I think they're uneasy. Phantom. Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but every time these guys shows up, if you don't sleep for 3 days in the game, their presence kinda reminds me of Jeepers Creepers, a horror movie that traumatized me as a kid. Not to mention their design looks like the Mothman in a way. I used to be a folklore fanatic as a kid, okay? Don't judge me. The way they swoop down as they make this kind of sound. This will always give me the chills no matter how many times I face them in the game, and for some reason they are a lot faster and more terrifying in Bedrock Edition than in Java. That's why this thing goes in this category. Hoglins and Zoglins. They're simply that one angry cousin of the pig family and also a food source. Or very often I call them Pumbas, because I've always wondered what he would taste like in the movie ever since he tried to bait himself out from the hyenas. But in the game, they don't sound any different when they turn into a zombified version, but regardless, they don't sound that scary. The Breeze. They're simply a hostile mob in the trial chambers that constantly blast you with wind projectiles as they move around, so in terms of sounds, they are not very intimidating. More annoying actually. Bottom tier. And last on the list, we have the Wither. Okay, the intro way it goes. I find that very unsettling, almost like the warden spawn if I'm being honest. But the rest of its sounds, it's hard to judge when battling this boss, when all you hear is constant bombing as it flies all over the place. The sense of fear dissipates and turns the feeling into annoyance and frustration. So I place this on a balanced position about right here. So that's all the enemies I can mention. I know that there are others I didn't include, like the skeleton variants, but they all sound the same. And the same for the other mobs where they are practically harmless unless provoked. But regardless, most of those mobs ain't scary enough to make it into the list. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I'm excited again to make content after recovering from art block and burnout, so I'll see you on the next one. Peace.